2, 1. We're now live. Well, I say we're now live, we're now recording. So hello and welcome everyone to what is going to be the second revival or third revival of the Budget Builds podcast, because we end up doing them... Third revival this time. I'm glad that someone's keeping note. Where we sort of end up making like once a week for 3 weeks and then disappear for half a year, and then they sort of return out of nowhere with the exact same format and usually a different thumbnail because I lost the original assets. We're joined today with Cobs.
Oh, hello.
You might know him from such newspapers in which he threw a brick at someone from Derby's house. The likes of 8megs, our local Irishman who is hosting the server on a tin can, actually. Your internet's shite.
You would be correct.
Right, so your internet's awful. We're joined with Jeff, who actually has a nice mic.
Thank you, gamers. I appreciate that.
And that is a gamer moment. And we're also joined with Heretic, who has never been on the podcast before. Well, neither is Cobs, but Cobs is already known for his Derby era of fame.
Oh, yeah. Derby fame.
Derby fame.
Hello, everyone.
You know how it is. Now, we're playing in the background, not that anyone that's watching this as a podcast will care, Open TTD, so for those that are enjoying it, enjoy the awful gameplay. But the first topic of conversation is the Nvidia RTX series. Now, RTX, personally, I love everything about it other than the price, and I think it's great that Nvidia's actually innovating on a form of technology that's leading to some nice things. And any opinions?
Well, they are starting to drop the price down. If you look at things like the RTX 2060, it is coming into the 1060 range. Currently, it's just hovering above 300 quid, where before the 1060 was about 250, so it isn't actually that far out.
I mean, yeah, it's not terrible, but still, like, you know, the whole thing, like, there's that argument, like, the 2060, yes, it has ray tracing, but is it actually powerful enough to, you know,
push it?
Yeah, to push it in a sense.
I think ray tracing's pointless on anything below the 1080, if I'm honest with you. Sorry, the 2080.
Completely different graphics.
I do that all
I
the
think
time.
ray tracing is pointless full stop, and
Megs, you literally play nothing other than, you know, games from 1998.
It's a really good technology, though.
That,
the problem
that doesn't make my opinion invalid.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't think you could download a ray traced game.
I don't even think you could run the ray traced game.
None of us can run that.
They have released
none of us
ray
can.
tracing. You could potentially run that.
Meanwhile, my Phenom 2 X4820, I don't think it could run.
It probably could. That's a good video idea, actually. I should probably do a Phenom revisit at some point, shouldn't I?
Oh, with a ray tracing card.
I mean, you already
the
did one
Phenom
on the
2
X3.
ray tracing. To be fair, I was really surprised how the X3 held up. I don't know who actually watched that video. Who watches Budget Builds anymore? It's a terrible
Who
channel.
watches Budget Builds?
What's the budget builds?
I
What
stopped
is
watching
Budget Builds?
forever ago.
Yeah,
I
I don't like the guy, actually. I think he's a bit of an arse.
Yeah.
Yeah, he likes BonJovi.
Oh no, the BonJovi's not
I
even.
like BonJovi, though.
We haven't even got to that part of the conversation yet. 8megs is ruining the topics. That's meant to be the last point. I can't talk about BonJovi.
To be honest, I wasn't paying any attention during the preparations because I was struggling with this.
Right. Well, the current topic we're on is RTX. So talk about that. Tell us.
By the way, 8megs makes it sound like he was physically wrestling his server.
He was
He
actually.
was trying to escape, and he had
with
to
this
jump it.
Debian package manager.
Yeah, but look at it this way. At least the package manager works. Unlike Hannah Montana OS that we built, that horrible amalgamation.
Do not speak of it.
Oh, it's going to be a video at some point. It's sort of sitting there, half edited, and I'm just like, when can I build up the courage to look at this creation you've made? It's sort of like, you know when you make a monster and you don't want to look at it? It's sort of like that. It's been living under
like
my bed,
Frankenstein.
and it wants peace. It wants the sweet release of death, but I just won't give it that. I'm turning it into an amusement for everyone to laugh at.
Oh.
You know how it is. Just when you horribly construct possibly the worst Linux distro in existence. Exactly that. Also, 8megs, I've just noticed down the bottom here. People won't be able to, you know, see this, and they might if they're just listening, but you are manually telling people to join your Discord server right now. You don't you have a bot for that?
I think so.
So what happened? Why are you having to advertise manually?
By the way, I've just built an airport.
Well done. That's the most cheating thing you can do in this game.
What, build an airport?
Build an airport, honestly, yes. That is one of the worst things you can do, and it will get you so much hate.
Upright say it's cheating. It's just
It's sort of renowned for being a little bit of a cheating
There's the
aspect.
bot there now.
I think what
Anyhow.
really matters is,
Ray tracing.
ray tracing. RTX series, back to that. I am honestly looking at an RTX card, but not for the reasons you'd think. It's mostly because AMD literally has nothing for sale. They have nothing.
Now you see, there's probably something on the horizon because Microsoft has now announced. I know this will probably get covered in the E3 section as well. But
Yeah.
Microsoft has announced that the next Xbox will do ray tracing, and it's an AMD Navi card.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
So they're probably going to be on the horizon now.
Okay,
But
that
isn't
is true.
custom though?
But it doesn't
On the
matter.
Xbox anyway, I think.
It might be custom, but if they're manufacturing the chips, then it's not going to be long until we see them.
Yeah,
Oh,
honestly.
okay.
I mean,
Yeah, I see what you mean.
I'm just spouting out random nonsense. The
What's
thing
new in
is,
every video?
yeah, the thing is, it's been a while since Microsoft has asked for anything custom. I mean, the most custom thing they've asked for was the graphics card in the Xbox One X? That was custom. Because that was actually the RX 590 before the 590 existed. It was better than the 590, actually. It was more powerful. But, I don't think it's out of the realms of
Factor in
possibility it
driver
could be custom.
optimizations and bits in there.
Oh,
don't you,
yeah.
as well?
I mean, it's
If you think
optimized. It's got more shaders. It's got more bandwidth. It's just a
Yeah.
better card all round.
And all the games are only optimized for one piece of hardware.
Oh,
rather
yeah.
than lots of pieces, which is, I mean, that comes into the whole Android versus iPhone thing, where Android is built to scale out across millions of different devices, whilst
Yeah.
you have iPhone, which is designed for one or two phones, so
But
they're going to perform better.
Which also comes back to the Nintendo Switch, because the Nintendo Switch is technically an Android device, the Nvidia Shield. And it goes to show that when you create your own custom APIs and you really develop for one platform, that the Switch can get out of it a hell of a lot more than the Nvidia Shield.
Oh, yeah, definitely. But then again, the Shield was never underpowered in the first case. The Shield...
No, it was Android.
Yeah, Android was the real limitation, but I think
Yeah.
in China wasn't Nintendo using the Shield as sort of like a prototype with a lot of their things, like emulation was possible for Nintendo-based
yes,
products on the
not-
Shield
not-
in
not-
China. Or
Not so much a prototype, more trying to get into the China market. The problem with Nintendo is they've been trying to break into China for absolute years, and they use the Shield. They use the Shield as a platform to try and get some Wii games, but they didn't sell very well.
No, wait, wasn't there a thing called the IQ? That was
Yeah,
like an
that's the
N64.
that's the company that they use to get their products into the country.
Okay.
Because you're not allowed to own your own business. It's very difficult for companies outside of China to get into China. I won't name who I work for, but my company's recently left China as a market, and the only reason we were able to get into China is because our our managing director at the time had connections, so we got into China that way.
I studied a lot of the Chinese market when I studied business. Fun fact: I studied business. It's so fun.
Wow.
And you'd be surprised. Pretty much, you're given the choice between either A, conform to a lot of regulations, or B, work with a company that's already based in China, and sort of have a combined partnership. So most people go down the partnership route because it's the easiest way into China without having to conform to so many regulations. Because as much as people say, "Oh, China's got no regulations," they do actually clamp down pretty hard on some companies, at least when it comes to operating, especially if you're Western.
Yeah, it's also very difficult to set up your network because you've got to allow data through their internet out into the rest of the world, but you can only do it by following their rules. So you can only allow certain things.
Yeah.
So it makes trying to set up your own infrastructure within there to talk back to the rest of the world very difficult. As well.
Oh, definitely. I can imagine it's difficult to do.
I believe there's some stigma against Japanese companies in China as well after some historical bad.
I honestly don't know much about the Japan versus China companies argument, but I know Nintendo is not lucky with their China counterparts because they've opened up a lot of... Weren't they subsidiary companies that were technically partnerships or something where they produced like the Nintendo 64, but it was all in the controller or something like that? And
yeah, that's what the IQ was.
Yeah, little obscure things like that where technically they aren't Nintendo, but so much of the subsidiary is owned by Nintendo that technically it is.
Yeah, I think they've now bought out IQ because if you go to IQ's website, I think it states that they're now a company that does translation work for Nintendo. So I haven't looked in it for a while, but yeah, they've. I think
It's
they've
quite
got quite a few
interesting,
out
though,
now.
isn't it? I mean, I know it's completely off topic, and we hadn't planned to talk about this, but the whole, Chinese video game industry is one of the reasons that PC gaming over there is so popular. I mean, this is one thing I say to a lot of people that in Europe and a lot of this, the best way to get your PC parts is ex-PC gaming parts from China, because it's £23 for a GTX 750 at the moment? Which, if you're a budget gamer, that's not a bad buy from China at all.
I love ordering things from China. They take forever.
You ended up ordering
I'm
from
in America, though, so
Mr. Ding or something.
That's
It
the
showed up
downside of it.
2 months
Uncle
later.
Ding.
Uncle
He's
Ding.
my favorite.
Did he sign off his emails with Uncle Ding, or is that just his shop name?
Oh, it's his shop name. I just ordered it. I mean, I kind of expected it not to be very good. It was just a cheap lapel microphone, and it sounds like ass.
But that's our boy, Mr. Ding. He knows what he's doing.
Mr. Ding.
He knows what he's up to. At least we think he knows what he's up to. We're not too sure.
We're not too. I think it was actually Hong Kong or
somewhere around there.
Taiwan or something, probably.
I know. Hong Kong is gradually just becoming Eastern China.
I think I'm definitely planning on ordering a lot more Chinese stuff. I don't know if I mentioned this. I've ordered, because after the Pokemon video, and people were just like, wow, someone that actually buys stuff from China and doesn't just say if it works or not, they actually give it a teardown. Although that summoned possibly the worst community in existence. I'm not going to go into that, though. This idea of buying stuff from China and seeing what they've done, I've ordered a £5 NES Classic.
We've had some fun with it as well, as in your Discord with this Chinese phones as well.
Yeah. Go on, tell everyone about your, what was it, the Galaxy S6. Go on, tell everyone.
It's a Galaxy S6 ripoff. However, it lies with a lot of its specifications. It claims to have a 10-core in it, which is actually a faulty quad-core with only 2 cores running. Has 2 gigabytes of DDR3 memory, which is actually only 440 megabytes. I'm assuming it's 512 megs. And instead of Android 6, it's actually got Android 4 on it and filled with spyware.
Oh,
for
yeah.
30 quid.
Well, it wasn't actually Facebook on there, was it? It was some sort of Chinese knockoff version.
It was a Chinese knockoff one that redirected you to websites looking like Facebook.
Somewhat like Facebook.
Somewhat.
Yeah.
You should have signed in with your parents' account.
It'll fool your grandmother, but it won't fool me.
Like, if you're on an extremely tight budget, maybe one of these phones is actually worth considering. Like, say if you only have 30 quid.
I mean, you say that, though, but there's there's Chinese companies that I've actually heard. I mean, I don't like supporting, there's lots of little Chinese companies out there. Some have actually put, some actually do renownedly put malware. My mic stand just fell down, but I'm hoping that didn't get captured in the audio. It's so bad. That mic stand's actually from China. It's terrible.
I'm sure it won't be nearly as loud as my fan rattling against my heatsink in the background.
Oh yeah, but that's just because you refuse to use modern technology and perpetually stuck in the year of 1998.
To be fair, I have another computer, just not right now.
Oh, what did you do with it?
It's elsewhere. Currently.
Oh yeah, because you actually know Bono. See, he's given it to Bono, and it's being used to make the next Studio U2 album, isn't it?
Yeah, yes, Bono's doing the mixing on a ThinkPad X60 I got on eBay for 10.
Oh, my boy Bono. He's touring with your favourite guy, Noel Gallagher, at the moment.
I totally just want to make a joke about Elsewhere. Because someone's going to point out Elder Scrolls Online is the latest expansion, Elsewhere. There we go. Someone Elsewhere. That's what it's called.
That's beautiful.
Not elsewhere, but elsewhere.
There's like a Chinese phone company called Qbot, and I've actually bought their phones before. It literally is. I did digging. There was no malware or anything. Stock Android, good build quality, nice screen, low price. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was about as powerful as a wet sock, but because it was just bog standard stock Android, it was a pretty responsive little phone. I mean, the camera was about as good as, something out of 1992, but it worked, and I'd probably recommend that over dodgy S6 with malware.
Well, I suppose if you know a bit of Android and you're prepared to have a fun few hours of messing about, maybe buying one of these is good.
Well, it wasn't hours. You were working on it for days.
Oh well, yes, but there's a lot of fun with it. I suppose it's the challenge as well. You wouldn't just go out and buy one of these because you have no money. You'd obviously have to know a bit about Android, Linux, how it works. You'd have to understand the risks. So even though I feel like I've got a clean version of Android, there could easily be low-level spyware in there that could be reading everything I do, every Wi-Fi I connect to, the lot.
Oh, that's
See,
definitely
Your
the
news
case
belongs
because
to the Chinese government.
I mean, but at the end of the day, I think it's good that this dodgy company is, making some money out of your personal data. I mean, maybe they know that you threw a brick into someone's house somewhere in Derby,
Maybe they do.
Maybe they do.
They might know.
Maybe they're framing you for it. Maybe this is a
Or
plea
They
for
don't
help.
know. They know now.
They
know
definitely
now.
know. Have you got the phone on you? Is it turned
I
on?
actually do. I actually have it right here with
It's
me.
turned on. Well, can everyone
See,
say
it's-
everyone say hello to this dodgy company because the mic's probably on. Hello.
Hello, Chinese government.
Hello.
Hi, how you doing?
In liner speak, it's now his daily driver.
It's now his daily
Daily
I
driver.
driver.
was actually
Wow.
debating making it a daily driver for a week just to see how much I could
Do
actually get out
do
of it.
people call phones daily drivers? Like I was thinking, oh, I can't call the Corrado a daily driver or call the Astra a daily
no.
driver. But that's got 4 wheels and it takes me from A to B. Whenever I pick up the phone, I'm just like, no, I don't want to answer this dodgy phone call. Not it's my daily driver. Do you know what I mean?
Someone's just after joining the server and is joining a load of unpassword protected companies.
Ah, right. Should we ban them? Get the Swedishman on it. You've got a Swedishman who moderates.
He hasn't been around lately.
Oh, send in a
Yeah.
new Swedishman. Send in the
I have
Volvo.
no idea what I'm doing.
Someone needs to find me a new Swede.
Right, I think what we need to do is invest in server protection. But moving on to the next topic, current E3 announcements. I mean, I'm just annoyed that there was no Fable 4.
Where's Fable 4?
Alright,
I want it.
alright.
Get it out there.
Right, Jeff too.
Yes.
Hey,
Yeah.
hey, all we're saying is, Microsoft doesn't have many good IPs right now, and other than announcing, what was it, Open TTD with guns, or Gears of War, whatever they were calling it,
Lego Forza.
Lego Forza, we were just, hyped the entire time, could this be Fable? Nope.
Is this our year?
No,
This is
it's
an
some other
indie game that you're marketing as AAA. My boy, Phil Spencer, the only guy there turning
Oh.
the company around. And who was it? That guy called Booty. And everyone in chat was just saying great games come from the booty. And it was like... I tweeted that and no one got it. 3 people
I
liked
can't
the
believe
tweet
this.
and got the reference.
I think after today, Nintendo have won E3.
They announced a new Breath of the Wild, though, didn't they?
Mate, do you know what they did announce? And this came from absolutely nowhere. A new Panzer Dragoon.
Oh!
Really?
Oh, yeah, wait, but
Yeah.
isn't that
Oh, okay.
isn't that a Sega? Sega.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
Sega and Nintendo are pretty much in bed these days, aren't
Oh,
they?
yeah.
Oh, yeah they're
I can't
back
believe
in
they're
the
bringing out
90s,
on...
though.
Is it coming out on the Sega Saturn?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
mental.
Yeah, Saturn.
Oh,
So,
so
but
it
no,
actually...
honest-
Oh, shit.
But no, honestly, they did. They announced it was in one of the. I think it was in the reel where they were just reeling off loads of games, and one of them was Panzer Dragoon, and that came completely left field. That wasn't even one of those rumor ones. If you were a betting man and you're like, what do you think may happen? There was no way.
I was going to say,
you
yeah,
could ever
Panzer
said
Dragoon,
that.
I would not have thought that at all. I mean, I had all my bets on Fable and it wasn't there. How can you not
Yeah.
make a new Fable game? It's literally the one game all the fans want. It's ridiculous.
It's literally the one thing keeping Jeff going.
Yeah, exactly. Go subscribe to the Fable
Keeps
Historian
me
for more
going.
Fable-based content. He's going to be covering the Gravekeeper, who's on... He gets... How
Wait.
long is he in the game for? 20 seconds?
Probably that much.
He doesn't survive very long.
Yeah. I mean, even if
Hey,
you make him
spoilers,
survive,
spoilers.
even if he doesn't die, he just despawns.
One thing I find hilarious about him in Fable is that, he actually gets quite a lot of build-up into, what he is, what he offers and all this. And,
Build-up.
there's he's got a good voice actor, he's actually got a little bit of a
Correct.
thing, you get he's a bit of a dodgy geezer, and he lasts 20 seconds after following you and getting stabbed by the one thing apparently he was standing next to for 20 years. It's just wow, what a fella.
Ah. Damn.
What a guy!
Pretty good.
One of the main boys.
An absolute unit.
He is a bit of an absolute unit. He is a boy.
Oh, what?
Also, Banjo and Kazooie were announced for Smash.
Were they?
Yep.
Oh,
Really?
yeah, they were.
I can't believe that.
Together
The
or
Gravekeeper
separately?
is in Smash.
Together. It was if you guys didn't see it, it was a really good opening. They had a Donkey Kong country sort of level-ish background, Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong, and I forget what the lizard boss guy's name
Oh
is.
yeah, Bruce.
King Karoo.
Bruce,
That's it.
yeah, Bruce.
Bruce.
Yeah, Bruce.
They're lazing around and they hear some noise outside. They look out, they see a silhouette, and you can tell it's Banjo and Kazooie in the silhouette. And then it cuts to light, and it's Duck Hunt, Duck and
Ooh.
the dog. And then so you think you've been fooled, and then all of a sudden Banjo and Kazooie come from the sky and then sort of beat them about.
He beats him about.
Yeah.
Not in my Nintendo game, he won't. Not in my Western game, he will. Well, not in my Nintendo game. I'm just saying, putting it out there.
It's big and meaty.
Oh no, we can't get him on topic. That's one topic. That's a step too far.
Don't know what you're talking about.
We can't go there.
I
No
went
idea
too far at the last one.
You are the only person that's ever made me edit a podcast. Do you know how difficult it is to actually have to edit a podcast? Usually all I do is add an intro screen and an outro screen. That's all I have to do. And then you talk. You get controversial,
I didn't get controversial. I got downright tasteless and offensive.
True, that is true.
Which is normally my trick.
Exactly.
Yeah, what the hell?
I think what matters is that people they've messaged me and they said, this is my favourite podcast. And they're just like, why? And they're just like, because you don't actually know what you're talking about. There is, whenever they watch something, apparently I got compared to the Hardware Unboxed podcast they do. And they were just like, yeah, they talk about cards and stuff. And there's like, but you guys, you talk about, and I'm just thinking, this guy's out here calling Nintendo big and meaty. And that's our conversation topic of the night. Okay. Other E3 announcements. Does anyone have anything else they've seen other than Microsoft cocking up, Sony doing that thing that they did? I don't think Sony did a thing, didn't they? Otherwise, I'll just release this a day later and pretend that we saw it.
I only watched the Xbox one, honestly.
Yeah, the Xbox One was really hyped. Oh, Cyberpunk.
Yeah,
Now that was... They had Keanu Reeves on there, and he's just like... what was it? Someone shouted out, "You're beautiful," or something, or "You're perfect," or something like that.
Aren't they now getting a free copy of the game?
No, actually. They said give the money to charity, which I think is a very selfless thing to do. So, in return, they donated $49.99 Great British pounds sterling to I just have to flex on 8 megs there with his inferior currency.
It's better than nothing.
What is European rubles?
No, he doesn't use those.
But have you heard of
He's
the
from
American
Ireland.
dollar?
They all use U2 tickets over there.
It's actually
You go down the local market.
money.
You barter
No,
with Bono.
Yeah. Bono is our economy.
Oh.
We know no commerce. Only
Before we
Bono.
get too political by going on to how that U2 is single-handedly holding up the entirety of Ireland, let's discuss AMD's Zen 2. Now, what was it? The last thing I saw was 16 cores that clock up to 4.7 gigahertz. Now, that's mighty impressive.
All I know is I seem to have the only manufacturer that will support the CPUs on X370.
Oh, wait, I thought they were most... Oh, wait, Asus. I'm going to say Asus.
Yeah, Asus. Yeah,
Asus.
No, it turns out that people cheaped out on the VMRs or
VRMs, yeah. Because I said
people
this from the
cheaped out.
start with my B350 board, and I was having this conversation with people. It's like, oh, I can't believe AMD's not supporting their boards. So I'm just like, it's not down to AMD. AMD just provides the microcode. It's up to the motherboard manufacturers to make it. Now, I've only got a B350 board, but I can tell you right now, from my experience with Asus, yeah, it is Asus. They will definitely support Zen. They will definitely support Zen.
Yeah, from what I understand, they said that they've been blindsided by AMD in the past, up in their TDPs.
Yeah.
So they had motherboards that were supposed to support newer CPUs, and they didn't. So what they did with the Ryzens is they just put better quality VRMs
I have got a bog standard low quality AM2 board, and Asus supported that to support. I think it supported a few Phenom 2 chips. I think. That's how good Asus is with their support. I mean, the only people I think that are in a position to worry. I mean, ASRock will get around to it usually, because they were pretty decent. I don't know about MSI and Gigabyte right now. Well, they might update it, but they'll probably end up giving you the Intel microcode by accident. Hey, good old Gigabyte reusing their other branded stuff for other people.
That feeling when you own a Gigabyte motherboard, but it's like 10 years old.
Oh, so. Gigabyte was good 10 years ago. Hey, they're all right today. I
refuse to buy a Gigabyte.
I'm a little bit salty after the HD 7000 series through to the R9 series. Gigabyte used their Nvidia coolers on the AMD cards. Now, this was the era where Nvidia moved to really efficient cards, and AMD was pushing out graphics cards that, small generators were needed to power these boys. So these cards ended up either cooking or setting themselves on fire. Not all of them, but you know what I mean. It just wasn't a good cooling solution overall.
Doesn't sound very good.
Because I was speaking to someone, I had an R9285, good card, and it never got hot, 68 degrees max. He had the gigabyte version, even undervolted with new thermal paste. He was hitting 89 to 95 degrees because it used the GTX 960 cooler, which was ridiculous. Yeah, it was just like...
It does depend on your case airflow as well, though. I mean,
Well,
sure, you can go all on the coolest, but yeah, like if you want a proper apples to apples test, you need it in the same system with the same exact airflow setup.
Oh yeah, and you need to blow on it from time to time so it stays cool. It's like
so it
just
doesn't
cooling
burn your
down the
ass
Fury. I'm lucky. My Fury's fans never come on because it's actually quite an efficient little card. At least.
So what was the Nvidia cooler made out of? Like all aluminum or something?
Money.
Goblins.
Money. I knew it.
Small goblins. Fake goblins.
That's money these days.
Hey, money. It's a crime. I had to go there. I had to say it.
But seriously, though, do you have any idea what those actually bad? Was it just?
No, it was just a weaker cooler around. Less heat pipes, less aluminium. You know, it was just a worse cooler from what I remember. See, the R9285 was actually a GTX 760 competitor. It was just that good that it beat the 760, beat the 960, and nowadays is only 30% worse than the 1060, which ain't bad for a graphics card. 2 gigs or 4 gigs.
So there are 4 gig variants then. So
there are 4 gig variants. Well. It was rebranded as the R9380 for anyone wondering, because that's what most people know it as. They're just like, I've never heard of this graphics card, it must be brilliant. No, it was just the R9380 to most people. Welcome to a world of imagination, where today we'll be discussing graphics cards you haven't heard of, because AMD's bad at names.
That's 5200. Yes.
FX 5200 video.
That was my first GPU.
That was what Jeff was using for a long time.
I had one.
It was GeForce 2.
Remember AGP?
Mine was AGP too. I played so much Minecraft on that.
I have so many people that message me saying FX 5200 review. I want to see one because it's at that stage where it's kind of retro, but people have got people
so bad.
But like people that had one in the day knew it was terrible. Like it was worse than the GeForce 3 series in some things.
See what pissed me off with the FX 5200 is it was priced around a mid-tier card. I had an argument with someone in another Discord server because they said I should have known better at the price. I was like, no, what you're failing to comprehend here is that I knew it wasn't going to be a fantastic card, but it was. Back in the day, it was hovering around like the higher end of the low tier price, so it was bordering on.
It wasn't good value,
costs.
And it got into so many OEM machines. Like so many people had them, and I still end up with kids that are just like, "I just got my grandma's old PC. I can't wait to play Crysis on it. Can you benchmark FX 5200 for me? It's Nvidia, so it's good." And I'm just like, "Oh, you poor boy, you poor boy."
Yeah, my personal FX 5200 came in a HP Pavilion.
Oh,
mine came as a separate card because I bought it to put in my system as a tide me over.
Ooh, I
did go from that to a Radeon 9600 Pro.
Oh, the 9600 Pro is a great card still.
And
even today, I could still use it, but that's just because I don't play any modern games.
Then I went from the night. Then the problem with the 9600 is it had really terrible driver support. It was a nice card, but for some reason the 9600 Pro drivers were terrible.
Back in the day, they were. The final drivers are all right now. In fact, I'd be willing to say that AMD's only bad drivers right now in terms of final drivers are the what's it called? The HD 4000, HD 2000 to 6000 series. Terascale 1 to 3 is awful garbage. Don't touch it.
They made Crimson beta drivers for my 5850. They never actually released full drivers, and it lacks a lot of support in modern titles. Like something like GTA 5, like a GTX 460 will fly past it.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's one of my main complaints actually with it. Is just that we've changed topic again. I always end up ranting about this. Man. The problem with Terascale is it needs optimizations. I mean, we've seen it before. That HD 4890 that I got the modded drivers on, GTA went from, 480p stuttery 20 FPS to 1080p 40 FPS fluent with higher settings.
Well, damn.
The point is, the drivers are holding these cards back, but, I don't blame AMD for not investing more into Terascale because, It's a very different architecture. It's so different. But the problem is, you know, their 7000 series, well, ATI, their 7000 series drivers are good. 8000 is good. 9000 is good. X is good. You know, they're all good. And then you get to Terrascale, and you're just like, well, I can't even play games that were, you know, playable at the time. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Oh, don't get me started on Terrascale. It's just not a good conversation topic for me.
So I went from a 9600 Pro to a 9800 Pro.
Oh, the 9800's great. I love that card. It's so good. I
don't
used
know,
one.
For me,
I was using one
like
for ages. Oh, continue, Jeff. Continue.
Oh, okay. It was like for me though, it's weird on the AM, like on my HD 6700, like the drivers, like they always want to update to some old ass drivers, and I'm like, why is it doing this?
I have no idea. See, I think
That is weird.
The best final drivers I could find for Terrascale was Catalyst 12.4 or something like that. It wasn't the final Catalyst version, but it was like Catalyst 12.4, and that's been the best one I've found.
Okay. Was Catalyst the final version, or I don't know what I have.
Crimson's
right now. I have,
the final version. It's the one that looks pretty but performs like arse.
Okay, is it like the one with the little window in the middle that's transparent?
Yes, that's the one. Meanwhile,
Okay.
Crimson looks like it's straight out of 1996 because it essentially is straight out of 1996. But it works. That's the credit to it. But, you know, I mean, the problem is, you know, Nvidia just kills it with driver support on their legacy cards. Like, I mean, the worst Nvidia cards when it comes to drivers is actually the modern Kepler, which has been left in the dust. But that's
easily, yeah.
But that's just because, you know, as an architecture, it needs constant optimizations. It's not a generation of cards like Fermi where it was so compute heavy that, you know, games kind of worked without specific optimizations. With Kepler, it's either you optimize it or it'll run, but not as well as it should. Maxwell seems fine. Everything before that seems fine. I mean, hell, I'm on the 9500 GT. I'm not at the moment, but I was earlier today because most powerful 128 megabyte graphics card. Oh, it's been beautiful. And that has drivers from 2015, I think. 2015? Which is 4 years ago. That's as modern as Terrascale. Oh, continue.
No, sorry. I was going to say, I randomly found a 9600 GT the other day in my house.
A 9600 GT. Now, that's actually just an 8800 GT with less something or others. Somethings in the something.
Yeah, no, I was looking for something. I was looking for something in a box, and then I was like, "What's this graphics card?" And I just pulled it out. It was a 9600 GT.
It's a good little card, that the 9600 GT.
I had that.
But see, I'll explain this now because I know that some people will watch this, and then some people will watch the video and understand. See, I was looking for the most powerful 128 megabyte graphics card, not just, you know, a modern graphics card that had 128 megabytes. I mean, the most powerful card out there that had 128 megabytes of VRAM, which is also probably, you know, the last one released. Now, what I could find was an obscure Chinese and Russian release of the 9500 GT that came with 128 megabytes of VRAM. And it actually exists. Now, there's going to be people out there that just be, but actually, I think you'll find if you look into the obscure GT765, it came with 128 megabytes of VRAM, but I'm just like, no, it wasn't released as a graphics card. This one actually has, you know, some of them came out with SLI headers. It was marketed as a gaming graphics card. It's not a display adapter, which makes it the last 128 megabyte graphics card. So I'm covering that.
The FX 5200 was.
But the FX 5200 is awful. Just forget about it. It's giving me PTSD.
I know. Let's continue.
When it comes to random memory sizes and graphics cards, it's all about the GTX 970 and its 3.5 gig of RAM.
It wasn't actually 3.5. It technically had 4 gigs, but the memory bit bus got crippled after 3.5 and made it perform worse than DDR3 standard. It actually was one of the reasons why that they would have been better off, you know, just giving it 3.5 gigs and letting it overflow straight to normal RAM. It would have worked better because of how crippled the memory bit bus was. It's ridiculous. Like when you get on that topic, you know. I don't know. The GTX 960 sort of faded into obscurity pretty fast now, from what it seems, because it's really struggling in those modern titles because of that 3.5 gigabyte limit. Because it's not like GTX 970. Or what did I say?
960. I was getting confused there.
970, yeah, the GTX 970, because it's not like the AMD equivalent where they can overflow to VRAM slightly, and you know, as long as it's not too bad, you won't notice any major frame dips. It's a case of you go over that, you are noticing some big drops in performance, and it is not nice. So, you know, at the end of the day, things like that are right. But anyway, moving on from Zen 2, which was apparently what we were talking about.
I think we were.
At some point we were talking about that. How about we discuss the classic AMD Navi? Their new graphics cards. They're doing more. This time confirmed to be probably mid-range. They're just doing a Polaris again, which is a good thing, provided they don't overvolt them to shit. Jesus. If you're going to release... Yes, continue.
Are they releasing these because they're moving into the mobile market and they want to get some...
I think their point
some
is
good powered cards for laptops.
I think their point is at the moment there's really no graphics card worth buying from AMD that isn't the RX 570. Let's think about it. I mean, Vega 56. Yeah,
I went with Vega 56 only because it was 200 quid.
Exactly, and that's the only case that people are buying it. Other than that, you know, you just get an RTX 2060 because one, it eats through less power. Two, you know, it has modern feature support like RTX, which is pretty cool. And then, of course, you know, it's virtually the same price. You know, I'm pretty sure the lowest I've seen a good Vega card that isn't blower or used or anything is 265. Now, I spend 20 quid above that and I get RTX 2060, which can match it in most titles, all the while just being more convenient. You know, you go lower than that, you've got the 1660 Ti. You go lower than that, you've got the 1650, which is actually beaten by, what's it called? That RX 570. But you know what I mean? It just seems like AMD and graphics cards right now, it's not a go-to situation for them, is it?
It seems to be more on the CPU side. That's where a lot more
CPU-wise,
seems to be.
Yeah.
It's a complete flip of what was happening, because back in the day, it was their GPU side keeping them afloat, which is ridiculous, yeah. But, you know, time's got to change.
Times are changing.
Times are changing. AMD, they've bought out Lisa Su, and she said, "Let there be more light," not to be confused with the hit Pink Floyd song.
She said, "What's that, Intel? We're coming for your single-core performance."
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, Intel right now, we're releasing... What was it? How did it go? We've released Skylake, and people are like, well, this is all right. We're releasing Kaby Lake. This is just Skylake again. We're releasing Coffee Lake. This is just Skylake with more cores. We're releasing the 9000 series. This is just Skylake again. It's just the same thing. And now
it will be for another 4 releases.
They're going to do it again, apparently, aren't they? Their next release is shown to be this Skylake again.
Releases, mate.
Oh,
it's not a joke. It's the next 4 releases.
That's beautiful. Who decided that? Someone at Intel decided, what should we do? I've got it. More.
Re-releasing.
More.
We just have to hope that applications can now scale up to the amount of cores that things
like
Ryzen are getting.
That is definitely one of the things, you know, as an editor, I mean, it's definitely useful for me because, I mean, we've already had this conversation, I use an obscure editor from about 10 years ago to edit my videos, and even then, I can use my 12 threads.
Are we allowed to name other YouTube creators on here that we watch?
Yeah, you can do if you want, provided it's not building up drama.
No. So I was watching a Phil's video.
Oh, we love Phil here. Phil's great.
Mr. Labs.
If Phil's watching, we would love to have you on.
And he was discussing a bit, well, as he always does, building a budget machine.
Yeah, and
he was talking about going for like 4-core, 4th gen with motherboards from China because they're quite cheap at the moment, which is fair enough. And he was saying that battles are only getting better. So this is a good option if you want to go for money saving, but with more cores coming on the horizon, it's a good time to get into new PC gaming. AMD are releasing all these cores. And then he says, which means that Intel should also up their core count. And at that point of the video, I'm like, no, mate.
What?
No, I don't think Intel are they? Because let's be fair, if they were going to up their cores to match AMD, they would have done it by now.
The main area Intel makes money is servers and laptops. Now, the laptop market is all mindshare, where, you know, Intel... When was the last time you saw an Intel advert saying, oh yeah, desktop performance? Never. Because it's all about laptops, servers. Now, the server side of things is for backwards compatibility. That is the only reason people are buying these Xeon CPUs, for backwards compatibility, if they've got money to flounce around with. I mean, isn't it Amazon and a lot of Chinese companies who don't really care about that because labor's cheap to convert, you know, they just move straight to Epic. Not Epic. Is it Epic? Is it?
Yeah.
Epic, yeah. They just move straight to Epic because, you know, keeps power down, more power, more money.
A lot of web hosting companies are also moving to Epic.
Oh yeah, of course they are, because it makes sense. Now the thing is, I don't think Intel's going to be going core to core with AMD right now. What I think they're
not.
mostly going to focus on is a full-on offensive of advertisements. I've been seeing a lot of advertisements. Now, I'm not going to say that Intel's, going to do anything scummy, but, I mean, let's look at it before. With Athlon XP, we saw a similar thing. AMD got the dual-core, they've got the IPC. What does Intel do? They market, because at the end of the day, when it comes to consumer sales, it's marketing that wins the battle, because not everyone is going to look up this. People go out to the shops, they don't know what a Core i3 is or what a Ryzen 3 is. They see, Intel. I've seen that advert. And everyone's heard the duh thing that they have at the end of adverts. What's AMD's thing? They don't have one. There's no mind share there. So I'm going to say that I don't think Intel's going to be chasing them core-wise, all the while that AMD isn't as competitive in the laptop market.
No, but they will be with Ryzen, with Zen 2.
I bloody hope so, because I need a laptop.
Well, no, that's one of the things they were talking about in their when they announced all the CPUs. They're going after the mobile market.
Oh,
and that's one of the things with Zen 2, that because it can run at a lower power frequency, they can start popping them in laptops with discrete graphics.
Oh yeah, I'd like that, because I'll be honest, the laptop that's actually looked nicest to me personally, as in I actually want to take a look at it, is what was it? There are only Intel ones out there. The closest you can get to a laptop with saying AMD inside that would be useful for me as a content creator is the MacBook with Vega Pro graphics, and it sounds ridiculous that I have to say that.
Cease this heresy.
There are a couple of Ryzen laptops, but they have full desktop CPUs in them, so they're beefy sized laptops. Now,
exactly.
If you are doing content, then and you're not bothered about gaming and such like, these laptops aren't the worst. They're not so big that they're uncomfortable to take around.
Oh yeah.
There's no like slender, slim version. They're good enough to game, but they're not.
My concern is,
one of the Intel ones.
I'll pitch you a situation. Let's just say I'm on the train. I've been getting the train tons recently. With my little MacBook 2012, I can take it out. I can't do any video editing on it, but I can write my scripts. It's portable. I know the battery's going to last me. The keyboard's nice. But I was looking at the AMD options out there right now, and really, they don't offer me anything more than 4 cores. Well, I've already got that on my MacBook. And I'll be honest, it's 4 cores is a little bit of a struggle to edit on unless they are clocked very high. I didn't mind editing on my old i3, but that's because my old i3 was good old clocked in at 3.7 gigahertz with like a 4 gigahertz boost. It was all right to edit on, factoring QuickSync and all that. I suppose AMD's got VCE. I don't know. I'm talking to it from an editing perspective, where I'm just going to ramble on about nonsense for a few hours.
It
As
does
I say,
appear there are Ryzen laptops though that are fairly thin with the APUs. I've stuck one in the Discord for anyone that's watching.
But the thing is, I would be limited to 4 cores, 8 threads.
That's it. That is your problem.
But
Yeah.
as I say, they are allegedly going after Intel in the laptop market with Zen 2 because they've got the power advantage, they've got the core advantage, and they also have the discrete graphics advantage.
Oh yeah, I mean, let's be
So,
honest. Vega graphics
it
in
could be a good
laptops is
battle.
really nice, really
Well,
nice
so
stuff.
good that Intel decided to work with them.
Oh yeah,
So,
definitely. I mean, I actually was going to look into a Vega MGL laptop, but because we live in the UK, you can't get hold of one for a good price because it's like, well, yeah, Vega MGL, that'd be awesome. VCE processing on the go in a low power bracket. Oh wait, I can get 6 cores, 12-threaded Intel CPU for less. Well,
I
I'd
can
rather
get an
take the
FX
2 extra
5200.
cores, I can get an FX 5200 on the go, Why would
Yeah,
I
there
even
you go.
why even bother with
why
Vega?
bother with any of this?
But no, look, hopefully with Zen 2 coming out and them saying that they're going after the mobile market, we'll see some better options in the laptop sphere.
Oh,
We can only
hopefully.
hope.
Hopefully. We can always hope. That's the point. We can always hope.
I know 8megs isn't a fan of this discussion, and I'm not, and I am not by any
it's
means
causing
an
me
Apple
physical
fan either.
pain.
Yeah.
However, it would be very interesting to see with Zen 2 coming out, next year or possibly the year after, do we see Apple switching to Threadripper?
I would love
and
that.
Zen?
Oh, I'd love to see a Zen-based MacBook. Now, I mean, I'm not a huge Mac fan. I hate the pricing, but ultimately, when it comes down to portability on the go, Mac OS is the ideal portable experience. Yes, you can have Linux, but nothing matches the, portable experience you get on a MacBook, personally. Especially for
I
someone who does a
disagree.
lot of editing work.
I disagree severely.
You'd probably definitely disagree with me, but personally, I found it the nicest to use. I found a MacBook in a bin. I didn't pay Apple prices. Don't at me. But
Yeah, but I now use an X1 Carbon as my main daily driver for laptops, so I can't really talk about cheap devices.
that's a nice
Depth
laptop
is
though.
preferable to using a trackpad. I'm a trackpoint man.
Oh yeah, but you use the keyboard
Yeah,
I have
nipple
a-
because
I
you're
have a
stuck in the
trackpoint.
90s.
I have a track point on my X1 Carbon.
Do you use it?
No, he uses a
Sometimes
puff suck.
it is better for precision.
If you look at my GitHub, I actually have written a tool for configuring the track point on Linux with finer.
You've done a what
You
now?
know what? There's
course.
one of our head ofs at work prefers the track points, and before he moved to a Surface, he had an X250, and he got annoyed because we had to replace it, and the latest drivers weren't installed on his replacement device, so he couldn't click and drag with the pointer. So we had to update the
That's a
drivers.
shame.
It's really weird that would be disabled as a feature in driver level. But yeah, he's the only person I have ever met that used the pointer.
The click and drag stuff only works with Synaptics driver.
It does.
I've
but
got that
it
on
did-
my
it did
bloody
have-
old Toshiba. I meant to do a video on that. It was my OG laptop that I used to have.
He did have it installed, but I think we gave him a 260, and the 260s were new at the time, so the drivers were basic. But the 260 had so many issues on release, like for instance, the graphics drivers, the Intel ones, would crash constantly, and you couldn't fix it because Intel listed it as a known problem, and the latest iterations of all the drivers at the time didn't fix it, and you couldn't do anything about
beautiful.
it. So you just have people constantly complaining that their screen's gone black, and apparently they got an error saying that the display has recovered. It's like, yeah, Intel know about this. We can't fix it.
Oh,
I
good
think-
old
Good
Intel.
Good old Intel.
Good
I
old
think
Intel.
I think ThinkPad started to decline around the T440.
I think, ThinkPads started to decline when you started using them.
Oh, what a roast right there.
I went there, insult the Linux
You went
user with a ThinkPad. We'd never heard of one of those before. Hey.
I'll be honest with you.
Oh,
man. Out of all the brands I've used in a work environment, the ThinkPad seems to be the most durable.
Oh, ThinkPads
At
are
least the ones,
indestructible.
at least
They
the
are
ones
bloody
that
good.
fail at least the ones that fail the least amount.
They are
Fucking
good. I saw someone
HPs
using one.
are rubbish.
I actually
I
saw
haven't-
someone using a Zen-based ThinkPad on the train to Edinburgh the other day.
Nice.
You say that though with the HPs, but we've had it at work where someone's accidentally spilt an entire glass of water down the center of an EliteBook, an 840 G5, so fairly top end,
Yeah.
and it survived just by flipping it upside down and taking the battery
Oh
out.
yeah,
Leaving it.
I think there's a stark difference between HP at the low end and the high end. The high end, they are equal to a lot of other
No.
manufacturers. The low end,
I won't.
they are entirely subsidized by cheap build quality and
Plastic.
what's it called?
Oh,
and a lot of the
plastic.
cost is
No,
actually subsidized into dodgy add-ons.
Even in the enterprise environment. So before I joined my current place, I worked in an outsourcing company in London,
Yeah.
and they were an HP partner. So
Yeah.
we only sold HP to our clients.
Ooh,
And
that must have had a lot
before
of
I
returns.
left, we were getting at a minimum in the last 8 to 6 months of working there, we were getting a minimum of 2 machines coming back a week with failed hard drive.
Ooh, that's a lot.
Because they moved to Seagate, and the Seagate
problem is
drives
there
were
is that you use
constantly
There was like
failing.
that. Yeah, there was like that horrible era about 10 years ago where like Seagate drives. It's got better recently, but Seagate drives would fail all the time, wouldn't they? They'd hardly work.
Yeah.
I mean, Mike, if you're going into the enterprise environment, especially with the higher end laptops, all of the EliteBooks we buy tend to have NVMe SSDs in them, or at least.
At least
But
nowadays
this was before.
they do.
Yeah, but this was before that.
It's about 10 years ago.
We're
Yeah.
talking like 2 or 3 years ago.
Oh, 2 or 3. I thought we were talking 10 years ago.
No,
When
I
you
was
were a
talking 2 or
wee,
3
when
years
you were
ago.
a wee lad running
Mate,
about
I've
the
only been
companies.
working in IT for 6 or 7 years now.
Yeah, you were a professional juggler before that, weren't you?
No, I used to work for T-Mobile.
Oh, damn, T-Mobile. What happened? Did you stop when they merged with Orange?
EE.
Yeah. Well, they merged with
Oh
Orange
yeah,
to become
merged
EE,
with
didn't
Orange
they?
Trading. I left shortly after the merger.
Oh, what happened? Did Kevin Bacon actually fire you?
No, I just got a job in IT.
Oh, nice, because Kevin Bacon
I'd had
fired you.
enough of retail.
Oh,
The
makes
problem with
sense.
retail, it swallows you up, and the problem with mobile retail is it pays better than other retail. So not only was your basic a lot better than everywhere else, but you got commission on top of that.
Yeah.
So I was at like an assistant manager's level. I wasn't an assistant manager. I was classed as a senior sales, but they
Yeah.
are basically assistant managers because you have to run the store when the manager's not around.
Yeah.
But so it's actually better than an assistant manager because you only made like $1,000 less in wages. But
Yeah.
but you were paid on individual commission,
Yeah.
where the assistant managers were paid on store performance.
Ah,
So
right.
if you did well, you got paid. If
Yeah.
the store didn't do well and you're an assistant manager, you didn't get paid.
Ooh, which is rough.
So I kind of got stuck in mobile retail because it's an easy job. You don't have to do massive, big fucking stock takes all the time.
Oh, yeah.
I had an ex-girlfriend that works for Iceland, and like twice a year she'd have to do a late shift, and they'd have to do a stock.
Oh,
count,
yeah, I know completely what you
have
mean.
to
I've got a
count
friend who works at Aldi's.
everything.
And do you know what they did once for one of the stock takes in the freezer department? They got it down from 2 people to 1 person and extended it by an hour. They went back a week after doing this because the time it took to stock take in the freezer, it was ridiculous.
It's not good.
Oh, yeah. It's not ideal, no.
But no, retail swallows you up, and because mobile retail pays better basic, and then you get commission on top of it. I kind of got comfortable, and I very rarely work weekends as well, which is unheard of in retail.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I kind of got stuck there, and then this opportunity came up to do IT, and I was like, "Yep, goodbye."
Well, it makes sense. You know, you left when you were comfortable to leave, so fair dues to you.
But yeah, HP, I wouldn't recommend them to anyone. I think like towards the end of it, their build quality got absolutely shoddy. Like if you bought one of the Elite books, they're not as bad, but it's still
like,
not
you know, I'd rather take Dell. Honestly, Dell is renowned for being pretty good in the workplace, and anyone I've spoken to says, look, you've got 2 types of
Especially with the
workplace.
latitudes.
Ones that buy HP because they don't have the budget to, and the ones that have the budget buy Dell, because Dell is one build quality that still means something. I mean, their power supplies in their computers have always been FSP or Delta, who make server grade equipment. You know, good brands. You know, and then you've got stuff like, you know, the fact that you can actually service these machines yourself, and their customer support is actually, you can talk to them. You get somewhere. It's good.
Yeah, I mean, I've had to deal with HP support, and it's really not the best.
Do you know what I find weird about HP support, right? If you're dealing with enterprise, it's all foreign call centers. But if you deal with consumer, it's based in the UK.
We've had
Strange.
that a lot as well.
Yeah, I don't understand how.
You'd think that enterprise would be their main port of business.
You'd
But yeah,
think.
like I used to hate phoning HP business support because you always spoke to someone in a foreign country and they always read for a script.
Oh, so it wasn't like it wasn't.
Done
Oh, I hate
everything that was on their script.
Then they
they
could go
wouldn't
off
help
script
you.
and actually help. Yeah, I was
Yeah, and
speaking
it
to
was-
someone, and they said, "Do you know when it comes to customer service, do you know what's the best call line to get? America, because it's all
There
about
you go.
putting a smile on the face of the customer, even if it's over the phone." And he said, you know, they go to unbelievable lengths just because
Yeah,
it's
they do in America.
just because it's sort of that whole "let's do it, team, let's make this the best day." And
that irritating American attitude.
yeah, that attitude that when meanwhile we're here in England, just like, you know what, Janice, bring out a cup of tea. We've got someone on the line.
Whereas the only real problem with Dell, and this is coming from a build point of view, is that Dell have 3 or 4 driver packs, and the reason they have 3 or 4 driver packs is that they never guarantee the same hardware in the model. So, say for instance, you buy a Latitude and you buy the same model, there could be slightly different variances of chipsets and like NIC cards and such like inside that hardware. So you have to have like.
I've noticed that whenever I go in to make a review, I have to make sure I know exactly what I'm talking about, because I can go on CNET and type in Dell Studio 1515. Well,
Yeah.
you know, that's one 1515. The other one came out with entirely different specifications. You know, they're like, it's ridiculous.
I'd imagine
It's
it'd
not-
be
it's-
difficult to find drivers.
It's not even the specs. It's just like sometimes just the chipsets, or they've decided that they couldn't get a Broadcom NIC and they couldn't buy enough of them, so they've put an Intel one in the next one.
Yeah.
But it's the same, but it's the exact same model. So all of a sudden your build fails on the drivers because it's actually got a slightly different NIC card in there, for instance.
Saying
Yeah.
that,
And
Jeff,
that's
though,
the only downside to Dells I've found.
they have improved
Okay,
the
that
drivers.
makes sense.
I've noticed a lot of days they now have automatic driver utilities that are actually half decent. They will pick out the
Oh,
correct
yeah,
drivers
definitely,
for you
those
on
are-
one.
Oh yeah, that's fine if you're manually building it, but I'm talking if you're using something like SCCM.
Oh yeah, where you need to be able to
where
plug all the
you've
drivers
got
in.
a build system in.
Yeah.
That's why I like Lenovo. That's why I've kind of liked working with Lenovo.
Ah, yes, because they put bloatware in the BIOS.
Yeah.
I remember that. It was so funny. My mate got a Lenovo laptop, and we were just like, "Yay, Lenovo! They put bloatware in the BIOS."
How
Yeah,
does one even do
It
that
that?
was
was
when-
worse than that. It was actually spyware.
I
in
know
the
it was
BIOS.
spyware. We just joked with him. They've stopped doing it now, allegedly. Cobs get on
So
this.
Allegedly.
right, it's not all good with Lenovo though. There is one pain in the backside with them. If you've got like a ThinkPad, for instance, and you forget your BIOS password, or some
Oh.
idiot in the company set a different password and they've left, you cannot clear the CMOS password.
Ooh, that's bad.
You have to pay Lenovo.
I was going to
swap
say,
all-
the only time
You
I've
do
ever come close
realise
to that
that
was... Oh, continue, sorry.
There is someone on some like HTML 1.0 website that I've come across who sells a dodgy tool to erase them. I'll see if I can track it down. for you.
doesn't work on the later models, so I think
It probably works on the
there-
models that 8 megs has around.
if you've got like an X240 and above or a 230 and above, it don't work.
If it's any consolation, it worked perfectly on my X4.
Okay, the X230 and above it doesn't, because they changed the BIOSes
Of course.
and made them more
they did.
secure.
Of
Yeah,
course
on
they
what you
did.
want, though.
On the older ThinkPads, the BIOS password is handled by a separate microcontroller on the board.
Saying that though, for that new ThinkPad that brought out, I think we discussed this on a previous podcast because that's probably how old this news is. Wasn't there that leaked dev BIOS, and that guy actually returned it to the seller because he was unhappy
Yes,
it wasn't
I
stock?
was talking to him on IRC for the entire duration of the debacle, and I was trying my hardest to convince him to, sell it to me.
It's like, this is a development BIOS. You have so many options. It's not what I want. I would like my money back.
Give a dump of the BIOS though.
I think he
No,
did after.
didn't.
Did he
He's
not?
a disgrace.
He only took the photos. I thought people got him to give him a dump.
Yeah. Isman, come on.
What an idiot. Think
What
about
idiots
that.
you are.
Why wouldn't you give a dump? Like, that's one thing. After I loaded that Pokemon game, people was like, oh my god, you dumped the ROM? Can we have a copy? I was like, I can't just go out giving you dodgy Chinese ROMs that I
Just
found.
give it to me, and it'll mysteriously end up on Reddit.
No,
Lenovo
I'm not
are
giving
a
it
bit
to
itchy
you.
with that though, because when we had that prototype all-in-one at work, and we obviously went to Lenovo saying, "Where do I get the drivers for this? Windows 10 is stupidly unstable." They were like, "Oh, you need to send it back to us so we can repair it." But they never specified how long, whether we'd get it back. So it's almost wondering if this has come out of Lenovo like illegally, like it's been a hand-me-down.
Yeah.
Are they going to take it and not return one back? Like, because it's technically their property, it's not yours.
Oh, by the way, Lenovo don't track anything.
What, is it
Isman,
all
the guy
untracked?
in
When
guy
it's a
from-
development model, and it's got all like super standard serial numbers, like the serial number was the model number of the thing, which is
Oh,
why they
damn.
were super concerned when we called them up and were like, "What's going on here?"
As
So
you do.
It was quite
the guy who had the prototype ThinkPad in the ThinkPad IRC channel on Freenode, he got a free P52 from Lenovo for
For giving it over without a dump.
Yep.
Wow. Wow. That's bad. I would just, help out the community. Like, you've just angered the neckbeards of the internet. The ThinkPad community is coming after you.
Oh,
No offense,
God, yeah.
ThinkPad users, but you do have a bit of a stereotype.
I've been on a ThinkPad enthusiast forum because I was looking for a solution for an issue we had at work. So basically, if you've got any like the X series, and I don't know what other models they have the issue with, but the memory chip is at the front of the machine. So if you pick up an X series laptop from the left-hand side, it can crash your machine because that's where the memory is. So it flexes. You can, if I've found a trick that you can just tighten the pins are holding in by pushing them in, and that tends to work. But I was trying to see if this was like a widespread issue, and on the enthusiasts forum, it was like people were complaining about this, and the responses from the ThinkPad users was, I thought it was common knowledge that you never pick up a ThinkPad from the left-hand side. It's like, wow.
Mike, that's actually a reproduced adage, right? You see, the T30 and T40 models, right, used to have this problem where if you pick them up by the corners, the south bridge would fall off the motherboard.
Wow.
So this actually happened to mine. Anyway, yeah. So it's just a saying on. You were probably on forum.thinkpads.com, weren't
you? I can't remember. Maybe.
One of them.
Yeah, it's just a saying on. Don't pick them up by the corners.
Well,
no, but they specifically said if you've got the X range or whatever it was, don't pick them up from the left-hand side. And they're not wrong if you pick up a Lenovo ThinkPad X series laptop from the left-hand side, and you've got a very good chance of crashing the system.
I mean, if you do it with my Pentium 3 one, which I think is a T23, you're actually putting pressure on the IDE hard drive in it, so it does just bring the system to a halt.
Is that just sort of a thing though, that you can't pick up a Lenovo laptop? Just don't even pick them up. Just leave them be.
Pick them up from the sides.
The Beatles had a song about this.
The T23 is quite a fragile one. It's also prone to very power regulation. So
for a laptop that's literally branded to be the most rugged thing in existence, you can't touch one side of it. But other than that, drop it in a nuclear waste vat, it'll work fine. But don't touch that left-hand side.
They're not as rugged as they used to be.
They're still pretty thrown down a flight of stairs.
I think
it's kind of it's one of the reasons I like my X1, because it's all soldered memory. I know that's an annoyance because it's soldered, so you can't upgrade it. But at least if you pick it up, it don't die.
It won't die.
To be fair, though, I mean, I was going to pick up a Pentium 3 ThinkPad from the boot fair, but I didn't in the end. I'm still kicking myself for not doing that. I could have got a Pentium 3 era one for $5.
They're £2 on eBay if you look hard enough, which is where I've got 3 of mine from, all Pentium 3.
They're probably dodgy ones from China that come with bloatware.
This is eBay, like legit ones.
I've got a Core 2 Duo with an onboard Quadro if you want one of those.
Oh, that's too much power for me, I'm afraid. I'd probably end up destroying it.
He wants that proper 90s super savage.
No, but see, if you take this thing off my hands, you can benchmark the graphics card on it because it's an onboard graphics. It's not onboard graphics.
Oh, is it MXM or?
It's a Quadro. I don't know I haven't opened it up to look.
It will probably be. Wait, no. How old is it? Like, what era are we talking?
Core 2 Duo.
Oh, that's MXM era stuff.
I can tell you the exact model. I've got it in my hand now.
I'm actually going to be doing a video on an MXM laptop at some point because I've got one with
It's a T61.
Yeah, that's MXM.
Oh shit! I have a T60. It's a nice laptop, isn't it?
It's not bad. It's a
nice laptop,
which is Core 2 Duo, and it's got a Quadro in it.
Is it the 431 or the 169?
Is that the model of the graphics card?
No,
you're doing that thing where you talk and no one understands what you mean.
Is it widescreen?
Yes, it's widescreen.
Yes. So that was a good discussion on AMD's Navi technology. I feel like we covered so many bases there with that topic.
Definitely.
I think people are going to know we're bad at podcasts.
I honestly didn't even know what the fuck we're talking about.
Maybe that's why they listen to it. It's the reason
people
I tuned in.
People just listen to it to listen to a load of guys ramble about anything.
Mate, how many minus this one? How many podcasts is there currently? Like 7, is it?
At least 5.
Because I binge listened to all of those when my daughter was born because I was doing the night shift.
And she was
born.
I
just listened to all of them in one go.
She was born to my beautiful voice saying, "And this right here is the Radeon X1950 XTX. Released in mid-2007, it was a good old graphics card released to play games. Something, rambling nonsense."
Yeah, it's the reason I listened to it because it was just rambling nonsense.
Exactly.
I don't really. I prefer that in podcasts.
I think that's what makes podcasts good. Exactly. I want to listen to a podcast which is rambling nonsense. So I will continue to do that for all of you. We will continue to make them. I mean, I don't know. Don't listen to me.
What's he saying?
What do you know?
What do I know? I just make videos about computers on the internet. That's literally the worst thing
And
you can
goblins.
do. And goblins.
And goblins.
Goblin-based content. All those types of things. Right. So, next topic of conversation. Our good old thing. Intel security faults.
Loads.
Good old. I mean, first of all, I'm just going to preface this by saying that AMD decided in their E3 benchmarks to show all Intel things without security patches. So, I mean, I don't work for a tech company, so anyone who works in the tech company, feel free to give us an opinion on the Intel security side of things.
Well, if they didn't patch it, then that means the performance will be better, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is what they're.
Well,
so they're being nice guys. About
They're
it.
being the nice guys, yeah.
This is the thing. I haven't looked too heavily into the new security holes. I know what they are, but I haven't looked into the performance loss. I heard it's going to be anything from 30 to 50%.
It's the main hit is hyperthreading.
Huge.
Hyperthreading
Which
is
is
huge. Yeah.
However, when the first security holes hit, Microsoft basically stated in their press releases,
They said
They said they basically said weigh it up. It's down to your company's discretion to whether the performance loss and security patching is to your
is too invasive. Is also
yeah.
like that.
What they're basically saying is what chance do you think you are of going to get hacked, and how much performance are you going to lose?
Like if you're a small local company hosting your own like little server that runs, I don't know, like Debbie's emails. Well, chances are no one knowledgeable
cares.
to take these exploits is going to do it.
Well, they're basically saying. Oh, sorry. Go on.
Oh no, I was just going to say. I remember when the first exploits came out. I'm pretty sure some company it got criticised a lot because apparently they also had like they were largely supported by Intel or something like this, and they came out saying AMD Zen vulnerable, provided you have, but you needed access to the computer, and you're just like. Well, hang on a tick. If they've got physical access to the server, I'd say my data's already compromised. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
if
if
physical access to a server, rip the hard drive out and copy it.
Yeah, my housemate was taking the piss out of me because I'd recently bought my AMD when that hit, and he's like, "Oh, have you heard your computer's unsafe?" But only if someone breaks into this house and enters your bedroom. And at that point, they can just take your whole machine. So
wait, they're in your bedroom.
That's where my PC
This
is.
confirmed. AMD vulnerable if found in bedroom. Keep it out of the bedroom,
that's where my PC is. That was the joke. Like, at that point, they're already in your bedroom, so they're going to just take the machine and leave. So
could you imagine?
lost it anyway.
You're being held at gunpoint, and he's just like, "Have you got an AMD computer? Have you got one?
I need one.
Got an AMD computer there? Excuse me, mate. Got an AMD computer there? Well, my friend Mr. Knife would like to have a little word with you, then, son.
Well, what do you mean you have an Intel? Well, shit.
Are you from
You mean I
Derby?
could have done this remotely.
Oh,
But
good old conversations.
Yeah, Microsoft's basically Microsoft's stuff was saying weigh up the pros and cons if you think security matters.
Oh, we've disappeared for a second. Now, this is sort of an interlude while I return, and then I'll sort it out.
Silence.
There we go.
Silence.
My internet dropped. My internet dropped for 10
I suppose
seconds.
the biggest hit there is enterprise deployments, though, where you have hundreds of, if not thousands, of these laptops already out there. Like, do you want to have to go through the pain of BIOS updating and then applying patches to do all this as well? Like, it's a lot of
the
work.
point is, I know it supports it's hit everything back to the Pentium 4 with hyperthreading. But the problem is, no motherboard is manufacturer is going to release microcode to disable hyperthreading on the Pentium 4. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, my 4th gen board hasn't had an update since 2014. Like, I've not got Spectre or Meltdown patches. I've got nothing.
And that's a
No, of
modern
course they're not
platform.
Of course they're not going to do it because all Intel's going to do is wait till you buy a new processor and just sell it to you with it already disabled.
The problem is, didn't they claim, oh, don't worry, Coffee Lake was affected, but Knife Gen wasn't? And you're just sitting there
that's
thinking...
because they disabled hythreading.
And and you're just thinking...
disabled it and gave you more physical cores.
The problem that I'm struggling to get around was, it's all Skylake. If it's Skylake, if it's a derivative of Skylake, it's gonna be affected. Hyperthreading's been the same basic principle since the Pentium 4. The
only way they're going to get around this is if they have to redesign the CPU from scratch.
Even the bloody Intel Atom I reviewed is affected by it technically because that's got hyperthreading. So technically your best bet for Intel performance is a single core Intel Atom chip without hyperthreading from 2009. So security wise, there you go. Everyone go and get your netbook out because you can run, I suppose you can run web browsers slowly.
Yes, slowly.
I think theoretically Spectre actually applies to CPUs back to the Pentium Pro.
Really?
Yeah, it's actually going back like a long way.
Oof,
I think we're looking
bad.
at 23 years of this.
Yeah, something ridiculous. Hang on, let's have a quick look online.
Quick peek
It's
a bit.
Spectre security. Health.
I mean, there's a good chance they already knew about this and they didn't tell anyone because they knew it was going to affect the marketing at the time if they did. Like,
Oh, yeah, definitely. The problem is that Intel's probably known for years that this was the case, and it's just been uncovered. Which then again, you could also argue if it's been like this for years, and no one's done anything.
Pentium Pro and Pentium 2 were affected.
Oh, that's kind of telling me something here. I don't know.
Oh, I'm looking at the immune hardware list here.
Oh, the
ARM
immune hardware.
processors.
ARM processors, right. Probably not all of them.
Intel Ice Lake is immune,
Ice Lake.
allegedly.
Ice Lake hasn't
And,
been announced. It hasn't been released.
And AMD Zen 2.
Wait, okay, so this is great. Here, you're immune to this thing, provided you don't have it, because it's released in the future. Right.
I'm actually quite surprised why all AMD isn't on that list, because it doesn't. I thought.
I mean, AMD is slightly affected, but I'm pretty sure any patches given don't exactly have any negligible performance deficit. So it's not the
I think
same.
the only performance decrease was down to the operating system, and that was Microsoft basically screwing up and applying patches to AMD running systems that didn't need the patches.
Ah, right.
Which was silly, really. If you didn't need the patch, then it shouldn't have been installed.
Yeah. Oh well, good old budgeting and all that shite and games, and I can't believe that we're actually on topic for once. This is kind of impressive.
That is impressive.
Has anyone actually managed to exploit Spectre, though? I don't think they have.
Oh, I have.
Oh, really?
Okay. I hacked into the local KFC and I got the Big Daddy Burger for, get this, drum roll please. I got it for $3.67 instead of $6.99.
damn.
Wow. Now, I know what you're thinking.
What a
Is this unethical? But that £3.67 is enough to pay the hourly rate of the employee apprentices there. So I feel like I wasn't doing anything immoral.
Didn't you also say the other day that you're a tight-fisted bastard anyway? So therefore you'd do it regardless.
This is meant to be under lock and key. They can't know that I don't like spending money, hence the name of the channel in every video I make.
True.
What time was
I've
this
blown
at,
the
though?
whole thing wide open. I'm a
Oh,
liability.
no.
I didn't
Well,
actually
it's
hack
11
KFC. I tried to get to KFC last night. Okay, I'll get this. We had this conversation last night. I said, if we finish our game of CSGO, I will go and get a Big Daddy Burger. Now,
And we
we'd
did.
finished this game of CSGO, hadn't we? And I thought, okay, it'll be time. But the problem is, the KFC had closed. So I thought, okay,
so
fair
sad.
enough. So I went to McDonald's. The McDonald's, which is open 24 hours, was closed. I had to go to a
Wait a minute.
completely different town, go through the high street to find a McDonald's that was for some reason strangely busy at 1 o'clock in the morning on a Monday night.
Doesn't that technically make it Tuesday?
Tuesday
Yeah,
morning.
Tuesday.
Hey,
Oh.
those are peak hours for the unemployed.
I'm just glad that we have a group, and in that
That's
group
why
I
he's down
posted the best picture. What was it? It was a picture of my Big Mac upside a church or something, wasn't it? Top quality.
Top tier.
I was
should
just
make
happy.
that the
I was happy I
thumbnail.
managed to get some food, but I had a voucher though, so contrary to my spending money on a Big Daddy burger, I managed to get a Big Mac fries and a cappuccino for £1.49. Oh, not
As the
£1.49,
American in here,
£1.99.
As the American in here, isn't voucher just coupon?
Yes.
Yes.
Voucher.
Okay.
Yes.
Coupon.
Okay.
Poor
There we go.
people tickets, whatever you want to call them.
Poor people.
Poor people tickets. I don't
Poor
know.
people tickets.
Poor people tickets. Let us have our poor people
So-
tickets.
So What other words do you have issues with in America that we use differently in England? So I know obviously you have different types of football.
They have hand
Yeah.
eggs.
Budget's gonna have to edit this.
I have
This
to
is
edit this
terrible.
content
Quiet
now.
down, Hamish. It wasn't nearly as offensive as the last.
It wasn't nearly as
Even offensive. It was truthful. It's different.
It was truthful. It
difference.
is more dangerous to be in high school in America than it is. It's a statistic.
Yeah, but the same way the statistic between you watching trains and not sleeping with women, we don't talk about.
He doesn't sleep with women. That's how he gets around it.
We're gonna like this budget bill's X-rated or something. Put on the other
Not
channel.
so-
We're gonna do our own version of Hollyoaks.
Oh no.
Budget Builds After Dark.
Hollyoaks is just terrible. Did anyone watch it?
I don't watch it, but I love the fact that they had an After Dark version.
There was
Budget
nothing
Builds
redeeming about
After
Hollyoaks.
Dark and just
The only
all
reason people
dis-
knew it existed was because it was on just after The Simpsons.
Yeah, that's all I know Hollyoaks for.
That's all anyone knows it. Just the intro guitar riff would come on with the dun dun dun. I don't know what it was.
Time to turn it off.
And it's like, oh, time to turn off the TV. No one wants to watch this. Oh, classic moments. But yeah,
Yes.
there are definitely some interesting areas to discuss. Like, how about we discuss BonJovi pleaded to stop during touring because of his vocals? That's a good conversation topic.
Oh,
Jeff, you've been waiting for this one. Jeff,
yes.
go on.
Lead the way.
Lead the way.
This ain't a song for the broken hearted. Well, wait, that sounds good though. Hold
That
on.
actually sounds nearly passable as what he sounds like.
Almost.
As
It's
I've
so
seen
bad.
them live, that's the only song they can't appear to sing properly.
Yeah, but
Well, that
Russia
was
Russia
such a- that was
2019
like-
is not a good gig.
That was
Although
Russia from
funny
this
story. So I got invited. That was the worst way to say invited in existence. I got invited up to see a band in the O2, and I'd never heard of them before. They were actually quite good. They sort of, I didn't know who they were, but they were like Imagine Dragons, where I didn't need to know them because I'd heard their songs in the adverts. And everyone was saying, "Oh, who are you here to see?" I was like, "I'm here to see BonJovi. I'm here to see BonJovi." And I told everyone that I was here to see BonJovi. I even took pictures of the gig and said, "I can't believe it's BonJovi." It wasn't BonJovi. It was what were they called?
Wrong, Jovi.
No, they weren't wrong, Jovi. They're playing.
Oh, wasn't that wrong? Oh,
It
that's
wasn't.
different.
It was. They were completely different. They were an Australian techno band or something.
Oh.
yeah, totally.
That's
the same.
definitely
Completely
Bon
different
Jovi,
to
right?
Bon Jovi. So I just found it hilarious that I was just people were just like, oh, okay, Bon Jovi. I'm just like, yeah. Turns out Bon Jovi's somewhere in Russia at the moment. You know, appeasing Putin
Singing
or
this.
something.
I guess.
I can't believe that. You know, Bon Jovi's going to be the next czar of Russia. Is it a czar they have? Do they have a czar still?
Used to.
Is it a czar or is it
No,
a president?
No, the Russian royalty were all killed. In
Oh.
1917.
It's always death with you, isn't it? Either death or
Of
offensiveness.
course, 8 Smegs would know.
There's a great Rolling Stones song about it called "Sympathy for the Devil."
Is there? The Rolling Stones. Aren't they just sort of that band that no one likes because we had U2? Way to cause a fuss in the comments section.
Well, to be
The
fair,
Rolling
the only
Sto-
song-
The Rolling Stones are
the only
shitty
Rolling
Coldplay.
Stones songs worth listening to are
8 Megs, you nearly sounded like a robot there. Congratulations. You managed to have less personality talking than you do with your normal day-to-day life.
Wow.
Well, we were waiting for this moment, though, weren't we? We were
We've all
waiting
been
for
waiting for
time
this
that
moment.
8 Megs would just disappear.
He just dies.
He dies.
Someone's built something
We
in the
can't
game.
have him
I-
die.
I lose what little remains of my sense.
No, 8 Megs, you'll get there eventually, you know. I think you'll do it, you know. All this time, people have been just saying, you know, he can't do it. There's no way he'll leave home. There's no way he'll stop working at the Bouncy Balloon Factory. But I'm just like, no, get out there. Go and prove to
I
people
don't
you can.
work there. I only applied there.
I've been telling everyone
Close
you work there. Oh, it's
Close.
great.
Fuck you, Hamish.
I think I'm great. What really
I'm
matters? Is there anything else anyone wants to discuss? We've discussed a lot of areas, haven't we?
I think as we should do our community service and we should give other Discord channels a shout out.
Oh boy.
Oh.
What?
And I think that we should discuss the great place that is the Derby Discord.
Derby. It's
Darby.
The Derby
Derby
Discord
with
is
an E
not.
pronounced
It
with
has
an E.
one active member called Brandon. Is that a
Some
shout out?
non-stop plays RuneScape.
He's
That's
been
shout
playing RuneScape for 6 years.
Well, saying that, he does stream it, so at least he is actually trying to do something with it.
But you know, this is going to be their
Didn't he make
biggest
a tenner the other
influx.
day, you said?
Their biggest
Hey,
influx
he's,
of members.
He's streaming it now.
Is he?
Yep.
What's he doing in it?
Twitch.tv/don'tbefail.
Okay, there we go. We've just plugged a random guy from Derby's Twitch stream.
There you go.
Oh,
There you
So
go.
you've got what? Have you got 100,000 subscribers now?
I got 148,000.
There we
got
go.
that
So
much.
he's just got. Let's round it up. He's just got a shout out to 150,000 people.
Yep.
Well, good on him.
Yeah, but don't the analytics show that only like 6 people watch these?
It's like 6 people and they just have it on repeat.
Yeah,
So to be fair, no, about
Yeah.
podcasts get about 5,000 views, about 5,000. But the thing is,
Yeah.
a lot of people watch the podcast all the way through, so it gets like a lot of views in terms of watch time. But it's not exactly the most popular thing in existence, no.
Didn't you like quote one statistic that not a single woman watched it?
No single. Yes, that's one thing. I can see whether the male and female split. No woman has ever watched the Budget Bills podcast.
So Maddie doesn't
That's
class
so
as a
sad.
woman then?
I don't think she watches.
No, she does. She said the other day.
Yeah,
that
but she
she's-
watches it in
can't
Ikea
wait for you to bring this
Picanto, so
back.
that immediately removes any womanly aspect from it.
Fair enough. But what you should do is also audio this and upload it to. I was going to say iTunes, but that's dead now.
Oh, it is. Does anyone else have permissions to drag Cobs back in here? Because I know he can't get back in.
Hang on
Oh.
a second.
Let's see, someone
I
has
can
to
drag him
figure
back
this
in
out.
right now if you
Go
want.
on, Jeff. You do it. You drag him
Oh,
back
the-
in here.
just-
There we
yeah.
go.
There, I
Well
missed.
done, Jeff. Well done.
I was just about to at you.
Oh, well done. We're proud of you. But, fellas, I think it's been a rather successful podcast. I mean, I'm going to edit out that little bit. This is where I forget to, and people will just hear exactly what we're talking. Well, not we.
Oh, you
Oh,
better
no.
not. It wasn't
Well,
even
just
close
the
to
content.
as
It wasn't
offensive
even
as the
that
last time.
bad.
It
There was
wasn't
nothing
that.
like tactless or offensive like the last time.
It was a good comedy joke between friends.
But the
Well,
problem is
that
there's a
was
difference between
unfortunately
friends
true.
and 5,000 people that actually watch this crap.
Fuck it, they're all our friends.
They're all our friends. We love you,
Well,
Budget Bills
sorry,
community.
I'm gonna be vastly reading all the replies to the
Oh, you're gonna
podcast,
talk to all
and
of them.
I will argue with anyone that gets offended.
Okay.
I
I think
already do that.
I'd like to say thank you to all the Budget Pills community. Aside from that small, unique people we got. See, my latest video, it got both the tech community, which can be pretty toxic, and the Pokemon community, which can be equally as toxic. So combine that together with a tech-based Pokemon video, and we managed to summon the worst group of people in existence. I'm honest. This is honestly the worst demographic of people I've ever had, and none of them watched the video. They were all commenting like, "I think you'll find actually." Pokemon Green was released in Japan. I'm just like, did you make it 3 minutes into the video? I say Pokemon Green made it to Japan. In fact, 20 seconds in, I say it was released in other countries that weren't the West.
I'm
But
just going
did
to
you,
put this
though?
out there. You talk about the worst people in the community, and Mike is currently posting pictures that are
Provocative?
Rather suggestive.
should not be seen.
Let's not talk about that, Mike.
Yeah, let's not talk about it. That doesn't exist.
He didn't want to
He's-
be on the
he's-
podcast.
He's not safe for YouTube.
He's not safe for YouTube, but I am really glad that him and his beloved girlfriend will be getting married soon. He's actually proposing to Kara right now. No one's going to know
Oh,
who that
really?
is.
Aren't they more-
He
can't wait for her to
better,
listen
because
to
we're
this.
all planning on going to the wedding. See, none of these people know who we're talking about.
Exactly.
Aren't Mike and Kara basically just the one amorphous blob at this point?
Yeah, they've sort of become one person. You know that episode of Doctor Who with that fella that just absorbs people? That.
Yeah,
With
yeah.
the faces. That. That's
Isn't that
them.
what Mike looks like before?
Yeah, but he sort of added a face to the other side, and that's her.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm proud of them, though.
Jeff's trying to spam Fable pictures. to
How
get
long do you
rid
think
of
it'll be
horror.
before
these are
Fern is
apparently-
incorporated?
These are apparently
she's in there
explicit
somehow.
wallpapers.
I think what really
are
matters
the-
at the end of the day is, I wonder if I'm winning at OpenTTD. I'm just going to see. Oh, no, I'm
What
third.
really matters at this
Lucy Pete
point
Trans.
The blue
is I
guy is
joined the
winning.
community, and I'm just fantastic.
What
Oh,
really
yes,
matters
definitely.
is this actually the end of the podcast as
I
well.
think we should continue.
Oh,
I think we
just
should
ramble
round
on.
up. I mean, we've been going for on
Oh,
about an
okay.
hour and a half. That's good
was
length for a
a bit confused,
podcast.
like-
Plenty
That
time
is.
for editing.
So, what any
I'm
any
not
topic you'd
editing
like to
anything.
end with?
Subscribe to the Fable Historian. No.
Yeah, subscribe to the Fable Historian. Join Brandon's Twitch stream.
And the
Everyone
Derby
everyone
Discord.
come to the
Derby
wedding when it
Discord.
happens. The Derby Discord is apparently a thing. Someone
amazing.
tell 8
They
Megs
made you-
that U2 isn't a thing.
Mate, they made
I
you
don't even
your
listen to
own
YouTube.
emoji.
They made a bricked emote. That doesn't class for anything. Bricking and Derby
made
sort of
it
go hand
good.
in hand.
Literally.
I thought
pretty sure
bricking
we-
in England went hand in hand.
Oh no, it's just you look up Derby's local news headline. It's just like local school has brick, local house has brick. Every other headline has brick in it.
Did you ever read about the Millwall brick? It's an improvised weapon made from a newspaper that Millwall supporters used to use in the 80s to battle.
I'm
Mate,
pretty
I have
sure
been
I've
to
seen
a
that
West
film.
Ham- I have been to a West Ham Millwall football game, and I didn't get into any fights, but it was still the most violent night of my life.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Oh God, I was looking at a documentary today about the time Ireland played Northern Ireland in 1990.
Oh yes, that classic
It was
moment.
pretty.
Yeah, we all remember that from an hour and a half ago.
Oh yes, good old Ireland and their ways.
And its slightly cracked younger brother north of.
I
Wait,
thought
hang on a minute.
we can't
I
get
think-
political because
Hang on a minute.
that'd be
I
wrong.
think 8megs was talking, went silent and was still talking, came back, still talking, and he thinks we've heard the whole thing.
It was something
you
about
would
Ireland
be
being
correct,
better than the
Mike.
rest of the world. Honestly, I think you
Yes,
should just what you should do. Dig a big hole between the north and south, and you guys can just row your own way into the distance. That's what the UK's doing. Have you not heard?
I think we should just cut off the north and let it float away. So make it someone else's.
No, it can't happen. It's a known fact that the Scottish gravitational pull keeps the northern part there, and you guys will float away. It's a fact.
Yeah, the Ulster Scots are using all their telekinetic powers to bind it to.
Exactly. They're just, classic moments. Anyway, let's round off there. Enough discussing the divide between two countries. It's been a pleasure to have you all on. Thank you very much to Cobs.
Whee.
Thank you very much to
Yeah,
8
thank you,
Megs and your,
Hamish.
your dodgy Irish comedy.
Oh,
You're the only
very
person
dodgy.
I ever have to cut out a tech podcast.
I know. What's
This is
going
going
on
to be
here?
the second occasion by
The
Myrick.
second time.
The
Stop
second
this way.
time. Thanks
He's
to
a
Jeff.
one-on-one.
Go subscribe to the Fable Historian.
I make videos about a video game on Fable.
On Fable. Just on the case. And thank you very much to Heretic for joining us.
Thanks for having me, and to help 8megs out, I'd like to give.
Well, that has to be cut. Now we have to cut out 2 parts. That's going to be cut out. Nice.
Okay, do you want me to say thank you again in a better manner?
No, you can
Yes.
just say goodnight at this point.
Good night, everyone.
Good
Thank you
night,
for listening.
everybody. This should be going
Thanks.
live tonight as well. So toodles.
Uh,
Toodles.